Hello, welcome crew to the unexpected LARP weekend stream where I'm at home again. Very weird situation, and I'll tell you all about it. I don't promise that this will necessarily be a particularly eloquent or uh concise set of stories for LARP this weekend. But I'll tell you what happened, basically. PoE called me too. I wish it were just that. I wish it were just that, Metal Dingham. So here's the basic premise of what went down. Just to cut to the chase. There is a player in the LARP community, and I say player, what I mean is GM of one of the other chapters of Underworld. Actually two GMs of two different GMs of one of the other chapters of Underworld, who is I would put it as like a toxic influence generally on game spaces that he is in. He is a person with who I have had many disagreements going back many years. And yeah, they're GMs of a different guild, right? And one of the things that they do as a GM of a different guild is they play their character in their own guild, which means that every single thing that they have done in character is suspect. Because, like, oh, you did those rituals, you upgraded your character in that way? Oh, yeah, well, you did it in your own fucking guild, where you can basically just write whatever you want. You know, nobody has any trust in this person, right? They are a GM PC, exactly, like, in the worst possible way, right? Not to mention that they've been through, like, basically tearing down various game spaces by being there. Several times. Their own guild, their last game was canceled for lack of attendance, which I can only imagine is due to people maybe finally getting the message. I don't know that for sure, but now they've decided, well, I can't just sit around in my own guild. I'm gonna come ruin other people's good times in other guilds, you know? And they've tanked games before, by being in positions of authority. Yes. And by just being around, to be honest. This person is caustic, selfish, and narcissistic. They're a person who I don't understand how they have remained a member of the community over the years. And the really fucked up thing is that all of this stuff that I'm saying is not an uncommon opinion in the community at large. I am not a person who just, like, has a problem with this dude, right? You know, like, I am one of many people who do and have. And loads of, you know, I say loads, there are many people who will not show up to a game space with where this person is, which means that they miss out on LARPing in certain spaces because this person is there, right? Good people that I would like to see at game don't come. Now, I didn't know he was going to be there because, I mean, usually my move would be that I also would not show up if he were in the space I was going to be in, because I just, you know what? I'm old enough that I don't fucking need this shit in my recreation. You know what I mean? But my friends, you know, my friends, I want to play with my friends. I want to game with my friends. I want to hang out. I want to chill. So, obviously I thought to myself, okay, he's here, but I'll just ignore him. You know, I'll just I'll soldier forward on this and it's fine. He'll do his thing, I'll do my thing, and we'll be separate and it's okay. You know what I mean? So on the Friday night, there is this big PvP between one of my friends and this guy. Like, there's a big PvP that breaks out. And this guy's character is, like, 15 years old, insanely stacked, like, crazy rituals up the ass. Like, obviously, he's a GMPC. He's been playing in his own guild. He's been able to do whatever he fucking wants with impunity for, like, forever. So, of course, he has all the resources required to do whatever the hell he wants. And, I saw what I can only describe as the craziest series of exchanges, right? And we're getting ready to sort of pile in PvP, and then he kind of goes out of game, and then there's, like, out-of-game discussion happening, and so everything gets sort of put on hold, and shit, you know, shit happens that, like, I don't know, like, the moment is lost in the dark, and, like, there are, like, 25 people watching this go down, as my friend, like, pumps spells into this guy, and he just goes reflect, 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 which is just insane. Just insane, first of all. And second of all, there are other people involved in this who are already like cheating by standing up. Like, they should be on the ground, you know what I mean? Like there's this whole out-of-game pause going on, and I'm like, fuck it. And I went to go get one of the GMs to go and, like, look over what the hell was happening, right? I ran to Plot Camp, and I was like, hey, so there's this PvP kicking off, and I think you should probably be witness to it, because it's turned into bickering. And then I wiped my hands of it, because, like, I don't want to be in conflict with this guy. I just don't. Like, it's not fun for me out of game, right? Like, it is shitty and bad and tense and fucked up, right? And I don't like it. And I love conflict. I love, you know, fighting people and having arguments and stuff, but, like, not with this guy, right? Like, it's too much an out-of-game thing for me and for him. And so I'm like, shit, all right, well, I'm gonna figure it out, right? So, anyway, the fight basically turns into talking, and nobody dies, right? People should have died, but nobody dies. So, I catch up with my friend who was involved in this, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I had to go get the GM, like, I couldn't be involved in your combat, like, I have too much of, like, an out-of-game stress level regarding this guy, you know? And he's like, that's why I did it, right? Like, and he's like, I had to be the one to do it because nobody else was gonna start it, right? Like, I could be cold about it, and, you know, I guess I'll just, like, pack up and leave, because, like, what can I do now that I'm here, now that I've done this, and now that, like, I don't want to be in the same space as this person, right? Like, it was just about, like, it's about making a point, right? And so I'm like, cool, okay, well, I mean, we'll see what happens, right? And so we went to bed, basically. And then in the morning, I saw him packing up his stuff, and I'm like, fuck it, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here, right? Like, the good people that I like LARPing with, that I enjoy, are intimidated and belittled and made to be uncomfortable and feel unsafe. I don't want to be here, you know? I don't want to be here in a place where it is okay for a GM, somebody who should be held to a higher standard, to be basically just doing whatever the fuck he wants and creating, like, a really hostile environment by his presence. So this all started, by the way, with my friend saying to those characters in character, "You're not welcome here." And as soon as he said that, he started getting stabbed, and that's when the PvP jumped off, right? So he didn't even initiate this fight. He just said that they weren't welcome here, which is fucking true. It's fucking true. They're not welcome here. So, I mean, fuck, like, to some degree, I'm yeah, it sucks, right? I'm pissed. I'm a little pissed at myself because, like, in leaving, I've done the only thing I can as a player to vote on, like, the way these things go, right? The only thing I can do as a player is leave. Really. It's the only thing I can do. I can register my fucking complaint. I can make my review of the LARP this weekend, this video, and I can leave. Right? That is it. But it sucks because it feels like I fucking ceded ground. You know? Like... Anyway. I hope that the people in charge of Umberflow and of Zenistrand, when inevitably he fucking shows his face there too, figure out that this person is bad for their business. Is bad for their communities and is bad for their bottom line. And that there are at least 6 players that I know of this game who would either have still been there or come to the game. You know what I mean? If he wasn't there. Oh, also, he's a GM, so he doesn't even pay for his game. He just shows up and fucking ruins everything for free. Yeah. So, like, I wanted to hang out and have a good weekend and do fun LARP and engage in other stuff. You know what I mean? But I couldn't. And so, you know, that's how my weekend was. And it didn't feel like it was worth it to try and tough it out. There are moments on the Saturday morning, right? Like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be fine. We're just gonna, like, ignore him. But he's just a dude that takes up so much fucking space, like, in the air, mentally. And I hate it. I can't deal with it. And I'm not gonna go to, you know, I'm not gonna go to games that, you know, that have him there. Or I will go, and then I will visibly fucking leave the game Saturday morning if I have to, right? That's it, right? Like, that's basically it. And he's gonna see this if I post it, and he's gonna, you know, whatever. Like, I don't really care at this point. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave the reviews that I leave, and I'm gonna hope that, I don't know, he finds himself something else to do. And I get to LARP without having to deal with old ass, cheating ass behavior. Yeah. I'd go into the specifics of, like, how it felt like it was fucking cheating, but you guys don't know Underworld, and it's not, you know, it's not worth me, like, hashing what I saw back over, right? There's some stuff where it's like characters should have been on the ground, but they were just standing there, and so I thought they were still part of the fight, and so I didn't jump in, and so XYZ, you know what I mean? There's just, like, a lot of that going on. Not to mention that dropping out of game to talk to a person about what is happening and what defenses they're using and stuff is legit just, like, the easiest way to escape consequences. You know what I mean? That's that, like, that itself feels like a defense. You know what I mean? Like a scummy kind of way to deal with things. Like you're not playing the game. You're creating a let's argue about the rules. You know what I mean? Yeah, Fire Whiskers. I mean, it's not new to me, right? Like there was a period of my history where we were kind of in a cold war with this guy and his group for like literally 2 or 3 years. You know what I mean? Like I had my faction, he had his faction, and we were enemies. You know, kind of. And it irritates me that he keeps creeping his way back in. And I think he time and time again he has proven to be an influence that ruins a game. You know? Because like I may be the first person to put my foot down, but I fucking promise you I'm not the only one upset, you know? Some people just deal with problems differently than I do, right? Some people deal with problems differently than Siobhan and I. You know, they don't leave game. They just like they try really hard to like make everybody happy, or they treat, you know, like people have different responses to this stuff. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with that. Like the game itself, whatever, but the game in the presence of this person, untenable, right? So I wasn't there long enough to form an opinion about the actual narrative of the weekend or anything like that. I can't really tell you about the LARP. I can't really tell you about like Umberflow in general. What I will say is that I will be able to tell you about how this is handled, I guess, you know, when we go next month and see what happens, right? I'm not planning to just cede ground. I'm not planning to just like stop either. But I'm also not gonna put my own like stress levels at risk. I have other shit that I can do that's equally as fun. And it sucks that like I had to leave my friends who I was excited to do stuff with and dip for my own reasons, right? Yeah, I don't know. It sucks, right? Like it's bad on all kinds of angles cuz like I don't really want to just like leave the GMs who are running the game, you know? Like I don't want to be like, "Hey man, I'm leaving your game," cuz that feels bad for them, you know? Hey, I'm packing up and I'm getting the fuck out of here, cuz that's disruptive to everybody around me as I'm like out of game, packing my shit up and leaving, right? Yeah. I mean, this is like a known issue, Metal Ding, and this is like a deeply familiar issue to anybody who's like been in the underworld community for more than a couple of years. But yeah, I mean, obviously when we're going to leave, we say why, and we talk about why, and we go, right? I mean, that's basically what I said, Ink, right? Like, that's your choice, right? Like, if you want him, that's great, but I won't be here, you know? Cool, you know? That's just how it is. And like every player comes up and like goes like, "Oh, you're leaving?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't go to games that have this person at them." And they'll be like, "Oh, that makes sense." And then like, you know, gives me a fucking hug and watches me go. I hate to say this, but I hope players who do that, I hope players who are sympathetic to that situation, I hope they understand why I'm doing that, right? I hope they understand like why I'm doing that, and I kind of hope they feel a little bad. You know, like just a little, just a tiny bit, right? I hope they feel bad a little. That they know exactly why I'm doing the thing I'm doing. and that, like, their response is just like, well, alright. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, it fucking sucks. I wish I was still at game throwing fucking fireballs and stuff. By the way, Elemental is a super fun sphere of magic, and the small amounts of it that I got to enjoy, whoo, I set some treants on fire, you guys. I burned them real good. I did. Fire magic, delicious. Didn't get to use the lightning on anything, but the fire was good. Yeah. I'm not sure what else I can say about this. I hope that it makes sense what I'm saying and, like, how it, how it sort of comes across. One of the worst parts about my natural reaction to stress is that I get all choked up and, like, teary-eyed. And so I always look, like, way more emotional about these things than I am. You know, I want to be like a stalwart badass. But my feelings do not allow me to come across that way. So, you know, I just didn't want to spend my weekend stress vibrating, you know? Just didn't seem like a good way to go. Now, on the plus side, this kind of stuff has allowed me to reconnect with some people that I thought I had, like, sort of lost my friendships with. So that's good. Some, like, solidarity, you know? And that's nice. What else? Yeah, I mean, like, I just hope they do something, because it will cost them in the long run. Like, I don't have to be fucking Nostradamus to predict how it will go if you let influences like that remain in your game, because I've seen it fucking 7 or 8 times. You know what I mean? Like a repeating fucking cycle. So, you know, maybe just exercise your we can tell you not to come for any reason. You know? Like, that would be great. It's not like you need a reason, right? Like, as a game runner, you can just be like, don't come. That is within your purview as a business owner. Yeah, I mean, you're right, Ink, right? Like, it's the self-selecting out of the self-selecting out of the thing, because I don't want to deal with the bullshit, when instead I can just go somewhere else. If I go somewhere else, I mean, I don't know, nowhere, I guess. You know? I think sometimes people in positions of authority have to use that authority for the good of their community. I know it can be hard. I know it's difficult. I know it's troublesome. I mean, my personal issues with this guy run historically deep. You know? Suffice it to say, what Siobhan is talking about has happened to me from this person. So I have not a single sympathetic talk and makeup bone in my body regarding this particular individual. I have no desire to communicate or involve myself in any way with them. I mean, there are some bridges I am not willing to rebuild. Some shit, all right? But yeah, so that was my LARP weekend, short as it was.